To education now, and Sector Minister Dr. Matthew Prempeh says this administration has delivered on its promise to transform Ghana's education sector. In a statement to Parliament, he said so far the free SHS program has been successful, adding that unlike the previous administration, he says failed to pay for its progressive free education program before they exited the government, President Gov't has paid for free SHS.
When we got into government, Mr. Speaker, we made an immediate and remarkable stride in education by rolling out our flagship free SHS program in September 2017, 9 months into the year of office. It was a promise to the people of Ghana, and we kept it. To date, over 1.2 million students have benefited from free senior high school program, which has expanded access to secondary education and enabled an extra 400,000 students to enroll in senior high school. Despite a few initial challenges in respect of implementation, Ghanaians have largely embraced this program, and testimonies are endless. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, many ridiculed the capacity to implement the program, citing unavailability of funds, inadequate classroom structures, and other school facilities to support the implementations. Seeing how successful the program's implementation has been with such important policies, such as the double-track calendar program, sustainable funding strategies, among others, our opponents making U-turn and promising a review of the program if they win power in 2020 elections, except they have failed to specifically say what aspect they will review and to what end and purpose. It is instructive to note that under the progressive free SHS policy, when they were in government, they left on arrears of over 30 million cedis in respect of the 2015-2016 academic year, when the program started with day students only. That has since been paid by the Nanado government. Nothing at all was paid by NDC in the respect of the 120,000 students catered for another high-sounding progressive free education in the 2016-2017 academic year. Notwithstanding the initial hiccups, the free SHS program, I believe, is here to stay, and we are confident that the generality of Ghanaians are fully behind it. Let me assure the House that President Gov't is committed to ensuring that no child in this country will ever be left behind or denied access to senior high school education for the sole reason that their family is unable to pay for the education.
Now joining us via Zoom is Kofi Asare, Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, a think tank. Now Kofi, these assertions by the minister, how do we reconcile or substantiate them? Kofi, pardon me, you'd have to unmute your microphone. We can't hear you on this end.
Good afternoon to your audience. It is common knowledge that the free senior school policy has led to an increase in enrollment. It is common knowledge that it has increased transition from junior high school to senior high school from about 65% to 90%. Presently, only 10% of junior high school 3 students are not able to transit. And I'm sure it's probably because of the grade 8 cut-off for maths and English, and then limited vacancies, which may be resolved due to the ongoing expansion works in secondary schools. And so, on the score of access, yes, admittedly, the free senior high school has made tremendous gains and has ensured that children who ordinarily would not have been in school on a
Right, Mr. Asare, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. You mentioned access, that there has been an improvement there, but I remember clearly that when free SHS was being launched, it was launched on 3 main pillars: access, quality, and equity. How has government fared in terms of quality and equity?
Well, on the equitable scale, and I will do the equitability on 3 fronts. On the front of gender, on the front of rural children, and also on the front of disabled children. Gender-wise, free senior high school has increased the number of girls in school. The gender parity ratio is almost 1:1. It's about 1:0.96. And so there is almost gender parity at the senior high school level, which is significant to note. Apart from that, if you look at the focus of the program, it focuses mainly on ensuring that in schools in rural areas where there are limited vacancies, there are ongoing expansion works to ensure that those students placed there or students who live in those vicinities are able to access education. Majority of the students who enrolled, after the 300,000 new enrollments recorded under the free senior school policy in 3 years, majority of them are children from, obviously, from poor backgrounds who would have struggled to enter the system if there were cost barriers, if there were cost requirements. And also, majority of them are also people who were scoring between aggregate 36 and aggregate 55. Previously, the cutoff point was 36, and even 36 would have struggled to get a school placement. And so, to the extent that low academic performance, majority of whom are normally found in rural areas where the quality of education at the basic level is poor, are benefiting now is good. Now, one of the issues we have with the inclusion is in the area of the re-entry. The JoyNews has a re-entry policy for pregnant girls. It allows girls who become pregnant when in secondary school to be able to return to school and continue their education after childbirth. But the free senior school has a unique serial number or student number which is given to a student valid for 3 years. And so after the 3 years, you lose out, you don't get any free senior school again. You can't repeat. If you are repeated, you are going to pay. So if a girl gets pregnant in Form 3 and goes to deliver, by the time she returns, she cannot come and start school from Form 3. She cannot come to school again because the 3-year code would have expired. And so it is making the re-entry policy for pregnant girls difficult to implement.
And that affects equity generally. What about quality? Has quality improved? I remember, for instance, that Dr. Matthew Prempeh mentioned that for supply of textbooks, this government has done so well compared to the previous government, which did not print any textbooks when it was in power. What do you make of this claim?
Well, I am aware that as of 2015, the student textbook ratio was more than 1:3. I mean, I'm aware that as of 2016, we had a student textbook ratio of about 1:3. It means that each student had at least the core textbooks. And so I'm not aware. Printing textbooks is different from having access to textbooks. Probably they were not printing textbooks in some years because there were adequate number of textbooks. But giving textbooks to students is not an indicator of quality. It is an ingredient, it's an input. The issue we've had in our education sector is that we've thrown in a lot of money inputs without getting the necessary output. And so I don't want to focus on quality by discussing inputs. I want to focus on quality by discussing outcomes and learning outcomes. And so we have a situation where currently the nature and the school environment itself poses a big problem because of the double tax system. The double tax system has compressed an already compressed 3-year program, which is now 2.5 years, into a system where students go to school for only 164 days or so in a year.
But on that point, Mr. Asari, instruction time has increased, hasn't it? Because
it has increased on paper. It has increased on paper. So we made a point that the instruction time has efficiently increased on paper in the sense that we have interventions which allows teachers to teach on weekends, do extra classes on weekends to atone for the lost time. But that is not part of it is an intervention. Intervention is something that is not regular. It's an intervening policy program. Apart from that, we have raised the issue about the arrangement of lessons. In most schools, like Accra High, lessons start as early as 7 o'clock.
Unfortunately, we've lost the connection there with Kofi Asari, who is Executive Director for Africa Education Watch. We would move on and deal with some other issues.